Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be making a football tumbler for football season. Football is back and I could not be more excited, so I decided I wanted to make myself a brand new tumbler for this season. So I'm starting out with a 32 ounce plump tumbler from the Tipsy Magnolia. This is a pre-prepped tumbler, so it came white already. And I put on a little bit of the foil adhesive from Southern Belle Glitter, let that dry for about an hour, and now I'm going in with special edition Flurries from Peachy Olive Glitters. This is a super extra fine cut of glitter, which is exactly what I'm looking for, because what we want is just a nice kind of subtle sparkly base for the clear pattern that we're going to put over it. So once I've got the glitter on the tumbler with a gloved hand, I'm going to just rub it down and really like burnish it onto the tumbler. This is kind of like the tack it method. So if you don't have the Southern Belle Glitter foil adhesive, you can also use Aleene's tack it, whichever one you have access to. And if you didn't want to use glitter for this, you can also just use mica powder, or you can just do your tumbler plain. You don't have to have a sparkly base, but I always say that more glitter is better. Now, one thing I wish I would have done, and you'll see me struggle with this later on in the video, is apply the Dimensional Drinks football sleeve to my tumbler before doing literally anything else. I thought that I was keeping my layers of epoxy and everything thin enough to get the sleeve onto the tumbler after doing all of this, but I was wrong. So I would recommend putting the sleeve on and then doing all of your design work around your sleeve. So what I did after I had the glitter on my tumbler, I added a really thin coat of epoxy to the cup. And for my coats, I'm using the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure Epoxy. And once that first coat was cured, because we had such a thin, smooth layer of glitter on, we can go right into applying this wrap. Now, this is a seamless design that I put together with my favorite team. Of course, you can do team colors, you can do whatever kind of design you want. I would not recommend selling this kind of thing. This is just for me personally to use, so do with that what you will. I printed out this pattern on my clear printable vinyl. This is the Avery brand. You can get it at Walmart. I will link it down below in the description box for you. And I just printed this out, cut off all of the extra like white or clear edges, and I'm going to wrap this around my tumbler just like we would any other sheet of pattern vinyl. So first I'm going to leave the backing on the pattern, and I'm going to wrap it around my tumbler to make sure that my seams and everything line up nicely. And then I'll remove a little bit of the backing the same way we do with regular pattern vinyl. This is just a little bit less durable. Like, you can't put painter's tape or anything on top of your pattern, so you have to be a little bit more like stealthy or efficient when you apply this. So I'm going to cut away a little sliver of the backing, and then before I stick that down, I'm going to wrap everything around again, leaving that little adhesive sliver exposed just to make sure that we're still on the right track and all of our seams are going to line up the right way. And then we can lay down that little piece of adhesive and wrap the rest of the vinyl onto the tumbler. I was so excited that my seam actually lined up pretty perfectly. I think that's one of the best wraps and lineup jobs I've ever done in my whole life, so I was pretty proud of that. I am going to cut off most of this overlap though, just so we don't have a super obvious seam. As you can see, it's not quite perfect, but everything lined up pretty well, so we're in good shape there. So once I cut that little bit of excess off, we can move on to our next step. We are going to trim off a little bit of the vinyl from the very top rim of the cup, just because we've got a little bit of wrinkling up there. So I'm going to take my cup edging tool and cut off maybe like 1/4 of an inch of that vinyl up at the top, and then we'll go into our next coat of epoxy. With this coat of epoxy, we're going to add a little bit more glitter to the tumbler. So I've got my Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure epoxy again, and I've mixed in a little bit of basic White Girl from Peachy Olive Glitters. This is a chunky iridescent glitter, and it's my favorite for adding into epoxy and putting on tumblers for a little bit of extra sparkle. So as you can see, I'm just putting it pretty much all over the top portion of the cup. At this point, I'm really trying not to add any more epoxy down at the bottom where we're going to put that football. So I'm trying to concentrate all of my epoxy basically where my wrap ends. That's where my epoxy is ending too. While this coat of epoxy is curing, we can start to work on that football. So like I said, this is from Dimensional Drinks, and I'm going to do a 2-color football here. So I'm going to paint the bottom half of it yellow and the top half blue, of course, to match my team's colors. So I'm just using acrylic paint. I didn't sand this or anything beforehand. I just took it out of the box and went to town. So once that coat of epoxy is all cured, we can move into one more coat over the glitter to make sure everything is smooth. And then it's time to add the football to the tumbler so that we can bling everything. And like I said in the beginning, I would add the football right away to your plain cup because it was a heck of a time sanding everything down and getting the football on. But what I'm going to do, like I said, is rhinestone the football. So I'm using my Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Rhinestones, of course. For the yellow part, I'm using Citrine. And then for the blue on top, I'm going to use Neon Aqua AB stones. And I got a mix of sizes. The biggest stones I got were SS16, and then they just get smaller from there. I always like to do the scatter method. For me, that's just easier. But before we get to rhinestoning, I need to put the football on the tumbler. So I'm going to show you my full struggle with getting this thing on. I, again, would just put the football on in the very beginning so you don't have to do all the struggle. So I went back and forth basically with my sander and just sanded down the epoxy, thinking that I was getting somewhere, and I ended up basically having to go all the way down to the stainless steel. So I taped off the amount I would need, scored it with my craft knife, and then I just went to town sanding. So enjoy the struggle, learn from my mistakes, and I'll see you guys in a bit when I finally have this football on the cup. Okay, so that took me probably like 30 to 45 minutes to get that stripped down and get the football finally on the tumbler. Now, as you can see, we've got a little dip in the white right above the football where the vinyl was cut off, where I sanded down. So I'm going to take some white rhinestones and just fill in that gap and kind of make it just blend somehow. Again, if I could go back and do this differently, I absolutely would. Maybe I will make another one of these, who knows, but if you want to see that, let me know. I can do it with another sleeve or just make this cup again. I don't know. Let me know what you want to see down below in the comments. But now that I've got the sleeve on the tumbler, I'm going to seal the bottom with some UV resin just to make sure that everything is secure and that it's not going to slip off or move around or anything. So I'm going to put the UV resin in between where the tumbler and the sleeve meet, rub it around with my glove, make sure it's all in there, and then I'll cure that under my UV lamp for a couple minutes, and then we'll be ready to paint the bottom and then finally bling this thing out. Now when I rhinestone things, I like to mix all of my sizes of rhinestones together because I exclusively do the scatter method, so I'm always using a bunch of different sizes of stones. So I just mix them all together and then store them as a mix. But if you want to do it a different way, feel free to. Now, of course, if you don't want to rhinestone your football, you don't have to. You can glitter and epoxy it, you can just paint it. Whatever you want to do is obviously totally fine. But I thought that a super blinged out football would be so cute, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try out this new rhinestone adhesive. I found this at Michael's, and I typically will use Liquid Fusion, but I was looking for Liquid Fusion and couldn't find it, but I saw this rhinestone adhesive, so I decided to try it out, and I really like it. It's super easy to work with, has a very similar feel to Liquid Fusion, so I would recommend it if you want to try out a new adhesive. The next time I bling, I'm definitely going to use my epoxy and see how that goes, but for this, I just wanted to do regular glue out of a bottle. When I'm doing rhinestone projects, I like to work in really super small sections because my patience wears very thin when I bling, so if I do super small sections, I can take as many breaks as I want, but my favorite thing to do is either watch a TV show, or turn on a podcast, listen to an audiobook, and just kind of zone out. This is really, for me, kind of like a zen, like calming my mind type of activity. I know that a lot of people, at least when I do rhinestone videos, I get comments from a lot of people saying they don't have the patience, it's too tedious, it's boring, and it certainly can be, but that's why I recommend always working in super small sections, take many breaks, and don't feel like you need to get the whole thing done in one day. I think I took probably like 2 weeks to make this tumbler because I would just work on a little bit at a time, take as many breaks as I needed to, and just not get super overwhelmed. So that's my advice if you want to start blinging. Of course, if you don't want to, you don't have to. Now, because this is such a repetitive process, I'm obviously not going to show you the entire thing. It really is just the same deal for the entire tumbler. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on, take my wax pencil, place my stones down, and rinse and repeat until the whole tumbler is covered in rhinestones. Well, just the football, not actually the whole tumbler. Okay, so with the magic of editing, we are all blinged out. Look how stinking cute this is. So as you can see up on the top there, at the top of the football, I took some neon white stones and just filled in that little gap to make it not look so harsh. And I don't know if I love that, but it was my solution in the moment. And like I said, I might remake this tumbler entirely, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I also decided last minute to add a decal to the cup. Now, I'm not going to epoxy over this because I don't want to risk getting epoxy on my rhinestones. Typically, I would do this while I'm doing all of my epoxy steps, but I just got the idea to do it as I was finishing this tumbler up. So I'm just going to put the decal on and leave it. This is permanent vinyl. This is the Pearl vinyl from Tech Wrap Craft. And worst case scenario, if it starts to lift or whatever, I'll just take it off or replace it. But if you're making one of these for a customer or something, I would always recommend epoxying over your decals if you can. But what I'm going to do is just do a blue offset, a yellow top layer, and just go with it and let the vinyl just be out and about. So once we've got that decal applied, we are officially all finished and I am ready for football season. This is my absolute favorite time of the year and I cannot wait to use this cup all season long. I really hope that my team does well this year and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to see a remake of this tumbler already after I just made it, let me know. And drop your favorite team in the comments, college or NFL. I want to hear which teams you support. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye. Hello friends, thanks so much for watching this video. I want to say a huge special thank you to my elite fam, my channel members, and my subscribers. You all make this channel possible, so thank you so much for being part of the fam. If you want more exclusive content from me, you can join my elite fam at patreon.com/elitefam. You can find my tumblers and digital files on my website madebymalstudio.com. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at madebymal_studio. Here's another video for you to check out, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.